Okay, Facundo. Some updates on Mayhem. So Roman is obviously one of the crowns, the jewels in the crown there in Cookville. He had what would be described as maybe a less than stellar showing in Wodapalooza in Miami in January. Is he feeling confident heading in? Now we're heading towards the business end of the season.
Oh, he's very confident. He feels very well. I mean, his food is totally recovered. That's not an issue anymore for his training, for his daily life, or anything. So he's actually really excited about starting the season.
Good stuff. Does he concern himself with this part of the season, like with the Open, with quarters, or is he just purely focused on when he has to go for semis?
He's just purely focused on the Open. At the games. It's the only thing that matters for him. The other are just steps that he respects, and he puts his best to do as well as he can. But he knows that he's a games athlete, so we are not putting a lot of pressure for him to win the semifinal in Knoxville or the quarterfinals. Just let's do it as best as we can. And actually, he's very happy with the result of the Open. He's not an Open athlete. These workouts are not his strongest point, and he was very happy on how they turn out. So very excited about starting the season.
Good stuff. Augustin Recalme, speaking of people who maybe are considered Open athletes, he's won the Open the last few years in South America, and he won it again this year. Is he feeling good, feeling confident?
He's feeling confident. He's feeling very good. I mean, South America is a very stressful place to compete at because you only had 2 spots. So you cannot make a mistake. You cannot afford to have a mistake in semifinals. So he has that in mind. He as Guy, they learned their lesson last year. So I think that I know that they did the necessary to minimize this to happen again this season. So they are very excited about this next stage and, of course, semifinals.
Speaking of Guy, he had like a very, very good showing in Miami and Wodapalooza. He seems to have made some changes in the off season, like mentally as well as some of his training maybe that he's been doing. Are you expecting big things this year?
I talked to Guy yesterday. Actually, he was very happy. It is true that Guy spoke openly about his struggles he had last year. I think that we can say that is in the past, and this year he could concentrate differently for this upcoming season. But I have to say that the reason of Guy not qualifying last year has nothing to do with that. I mean, he just had a very bad event at Copa Azur. He won 3 of the 6 events. It was not enough for him to make it to the games. But so his fitness has always been there, and he's extraordinary. But I think he's in a good space, and he's also looking forward to have a different season, which I think is going to be the case, and to show what a extraordinary athlete he can be.
A new recruit, Karen Frey, to you and Mayhem. You've been together almost a year, I guess. How are you feeling working with her? Like, there's huge potential there. Is she feeling good for the next couple of weeks?
Yes, I mean, Karen had maybe the best ever off-season that any athlete had. I mean, she won the French Roland in Madrid, she won Dubai, she won Pamplona, and we did have to make a lot of adjustment in her training, and those are, I think, starting to show very interesting results. She's also not an athlete that you would expect to do great in the quarterfinal or Open format, but she's preparing herself to compete at Lyon in what I believe might be the most competitive field for the women in the world. So getting a spot there is not very, very easy, and I think she feels very confident that this year she will get to wherever she wants to go.
Is it different for someone like her competing there than, say, you mentioned Roman, who's kind of purely focused on Texas? Like, because it's so competitive where she is for semifinals, does she have to peak differently? Does she have to strategize differently across the season?
Yeah, well, the good thing about Roman, or when something that characterizes Roman very well, is that he can hold himself together to the moments that he believes are not, where he should put a lot of stress on. So whatever happens to him in quarterfinals or at semifinals, I'll say it again, he respects very much the whole process, but what matters for him is the games. He's finished first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. It doesn't matter in in the semifinals or quarterfinals. For Karen, it's a bit different because first of all, the women field in Europe is very competitive, and it's also like South America, you cannot afford to make a big mistake. So I think she's looking forward to start the season already in quarterfinals with a good result and keep it up to the games.
Jorge moved from team competition and from Invictus. Is he adjusting well to Cookville and individual competition?
Yes, I mean I think he misses the team competition because last weekend at Mayhem he's been there for every single team that was competing, supporting them and giving tips, and I mean they were very welcome because he's a champ, and so on that aspect he's very happy. I see him often, and I talk to him over the phone, and he already feels like a local there. He trains with Roman. They have their own specific timetable for training and routine, and they get along very, very well. And for me as a coach, I'm extremely happy when I see them working together because I know that Roman shares a lot of his knowledge with him. So, oh, Jorge, you have to do this, you have to do that. And Roman is a very strong guy, and he's very good with lifting. And there's an element where Jorge can also say, hey, Roman, careful, beware of this, pay attention there. It's very, very fulfilling for a coach to see your athletes having that kind of connection, even though that at the games or in whichever competition 3-1 go, they're going to be rivals. In the process, where you spend most of your year working, it's very, very nice to see them as a strong team working together.
There was rumors kind of before the tail end of last season, after the games finished, that Brittany Weiss was moving to Mayhem as well. Did that not materialize? I saw her with Yami in Iceland last week.
I think that I think that actually Brittany moved to Middle East for a couple of months immediately after Dubai, and she stayed there. And I think that now is in Iceland. I'm very happy to see also that she did great now at the Open.
Good stuff. Dan Tai and Saf, two more former team athletes going individual. How's that going?
Yeah, that's going also very good. I'm very happy to be having some British kind of no, they're
British, yeah,
Italy? Yeah, or is more for the north. Anyways, some athletes from the United Kingdom. I mean, Saf. Maybe people not everybody might know her, but she's an extraordinary athlete throughout the last years. She always made it to semifinal with very good results. And I say it again, in a very competitive field. Dan comes from professional rugby, and he's been improving a lot. There's a lot of changes when you come from the format of being in a team to individual, but it's very pleasant to work with them because they are working really, really hard. And in 2 weeks, we are going to go together to Mayhem with Saf and Dan to train with Roman and with Jorge and all our athletes there. So it's a pleasure for me to be able to work with them.
Someone you're probably more familiar with than Saxon, you're back working with him. How's that going?
Yeah, well, Saxon is, of course, it's very familiar, and I'm always very proud. I mean, I was extremely happy. Saxon had to take a year off due to a bit of overtraining and a bit of some injuries or some kind of issues he had on his foot, and it's been very frustrating for any athlete of that category to have to, a step down of competing. And we work very, very closely since August, and I was very not surprised because I know him very well, but I'm very happy to see that he was second in the Open, showing that he's back, or even I think he's, as a coach, and I want to be humble, I think that he's the best that I have seen of him lately, ever actually. Lately is the best that I've seen of Saxon Panchik. I think that he's really, really at his best moment. And it's not like he feels, very often athletes say, I feel that I'm at best, but you are not. No. The results of the work that he's doing shows that he's at his very best. So I'm extremely excited to see him here in this season.
Good stuff. Some other notable names then. So Luke Parker, Bailey Rail, Tyler Christopher, Austin Hatfield, Paige Powers, Uldis. Any updates on those? They all feeling good? No injuries, nothing like that?
Uldis is still working hard, as Uldis is alone in his kind of the depot place. Like nobody ever understood where he trains, but it certainly pays off because he's in very good shape. And I mean, our regulars at Mayhem, Luke, Bailey, Paige, Tyler, Austin, Hartfield, they are preparing themselves very, very well. I mean, I had a conversation this morning with Don D'Agostino, which is the coach that is at Mayhem, who takes care of them every single day. And he's also seen that in these last weeks, their work showed them that they are ready to start quarterfinals at their best. So, I mean, we have a lot of Mayhem athletes that are going to be doing that next week, and I think that we're going to have a lot of Mayhem athletes that are going to make it to semifinals. I mean, Alex Vignol, we have also Alex Caron and Sam Cornaillet from Canada, and I'm unable to mention them all because very lucky that there are too many, but I think that we've been doing a lot of little changes here and there at Mayhem, with the arrival of Dom and Mike McElroy and Inga, Jack Foster. So we changed the way we not we program, but the way we take care of our athletes. And I think that this year for us is very important to see the results of those changes. So we are very excited about this season.
Someone like Sam Cornier, does he feel like, is there an element of pressure on him to perform? Because, he kind of called his shot last year, didn't really pan out the way he probably planned. Like, does it put extra pressure on this season for him then?
Well, it depends on the reason why things won't turn out the way one would want to, right? Sometimes you just don't feel well. It's just one weekend. Sometimes you are a bit sick. Sometimes, so I don't think that the problem was, or I know that the problem was not that Sam was not fit enough to do better. It's just that weekend, he wasn't at his best. But I think that Sam has always the pressure because he's one of the finest athletes around, and he needs to show it. And when he feels fine, he does do that. He does show that. I mean, he won. First of all, he spent 1 year training with Rich Froning, which already is an achievement to keep it up with Rich. And then, he made it to the top of the podium as a team member. I believe that Sam, is really one of the finest athletes around, and I'm confident that this year the outcome was going to be much better than last year.
Adam, an update on how things are going in Fort Vancouver. We'll start off with the sad news, I guess. So Ellie Turner announced that she's finished for the season, that she's going to kind of recover, repair, and come back next season stronger. Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's exactly right. She injured her back at the CrossFit Games last year, and over the course of the offseason just wasn't making the recovery process that needed to happen by the time this season kicked off. And so rather than trying to just piece it together, it was just time to make the tough decision that she would take the season off and focus on getting herself right, getting herself healed, and get ready for next year.
That obviously leaves Justin then as the other kind of jewel in the crown of Fort Vancouver, I guess. He, many on the outside would have said, and I'm sure he said himself, that last season would have been classified as a disappointment for him compared to the years that came before it. Is it difficult to kind of lift things to bounce back after that? Or with someone like him, is it easy because he's just desperate to improve on the things that let him down?
Yeah, I think that when you describe last season as a disappointment in the outcome for Justin, that's accurate for sure. After winning the games twice, to move down the leaderboard that far was it was a tough pill to swallow. But at the same time, as we started planning and preparing for this year, that's the best medicine. Is he's hungry to get back to work and excited to just get deeper into this season.
Do you just wipe the slate clean and start completely over? Or do you say, okay, well, there's probably some anomalies there that, maybe we could shore up some little things if those scenarios were to arise again?
Yeah, I mean, definitely we look at everything with a fine-tooth comb and try to figure out, what happened, where did we go wrong, how do we improve from that? And really it's a team effort to learn every year from the previous year's performance. And I think there was some more takeaways. There's some more learning experiences this year than maybe in the past. But yeah, it's not like we're scrapping everything and, just doing things differently doing things totally differently than we have in the past. We are definitely doing some things differently, and it's a new year. It's a new season. Justin, he looks good. He feels good. He's excited to compete, and I'm excited for him.
And his body's good. There's no niggles, no like little boo-boos that he's concerned about?
No, healthy, ready to roll.
That's great. You also have some other athletes there. Trista Smith, how's she coming along this semi-finals? It'll be her second year at semi-finals. Is she feeling more confident maybe than she was last year? Is she kind of hoping to just step over the hurdle of quarterfinals and, you know, return to where she was last year? Is she feeling any extra pressure with a smaller field advancing?
I don't think Trista's feeling extra pressure. Trista loves competition. She loves competing, and she's excited for quarterfinals and the opportunity to move on. It is a different year for her, for sure. She did qualify for semifinals last year, but she also was still competing in the team division. So she had that going for her as well. This year she's into the full-grown adults and is, she's pretty focused. She's a senior in high school. And so she's balancing some stuff, but is really looking forward to, moving up into the individual division and testing herself and seeing where she's at. She's definitely a different athlete than she was a year ago. She's made a lot of improvements. And so the fact that there are fewer qualifying spots available is not really a concern at all.
With someone like her who, you know, has had success in the age group and then ages up, and maybe has become accustomed to making it to the games and being at the highest possible level that she could reach in the age group, is there an element there of like managing expectations or dampening expectations a little bit at the risk of someone becoming disappointed when they've been at the top and then they age up and then struggle to maybe return to where they were because they're competing against people who've been doing this for years?
Yeah, I definitely think that is something that a lot of athletes have had to kind of come to terms with in making the transition from the teenage division up to the individual division. I don't think Trista sees her identity or her self-worth in her placing in the teen division. And she's not really tied to that as her, just who she is. And so she's just amazing in terms of she's wise beyond her years in a lot of ways, in being able to just see herself as an athlete and see the improvements that she's made and realize that, regardless of what happens this year, she's moving in the right direction. She's getting better. And so, she's not just defined by the results of the leaderboard. Certainly she's focused, she's disciplined, she's driven. And in a lot of ways, you look at quarterfinals as her CrossFit games. Like, she needs to do really well and put together a really clean weekend in order to move on and go to semifinals. And that's what she's focused on doing. There's not a whole lot more than that at this point. And so, yeah, it's really refreshing. It's really cool to see. I think that especially some of the female teen athletes and younger athletes have kind of struggled to just find themselves in our sport. And I think Trista's she's got such a great family and a good team of people around her that are just really looking out for her. And she's been able to keep a really good, positive perspective and headspace, at least throughout, this point in the season. So we're excited for quarterfinals. Hopefully she gets to compete at semifinals and improve on what she did last year, and whether that results in her going to the games this year, or hopefully in the future, we'll see.
Well, anybody else then that you feel like we should be keeping an eye out for or keeping a pulse on?
Yeah, heck yeah. There's a guy in our gym, Adam McAdam. It's actually his real name, Adam McAdams. We call him Mac. And he was in the same boat or similar boat as Trista last year. It was his first time qualifying for semifinals. He got to go, and the goal is to go back and improve on that performance from last year. So he's definitely in the trenches, working hard, and just right along with the rest of the group.
A last question on Justin. Do you ever show him things to kind of get him riled up or anything?
No, not like going into a work like that. We have seen like rankings and stuff that are good, like bulletin board material to fire you up. But he doesn't need that, like tricks or gimmicks to get him to his best performance or his best result. Like he's got the heart of a champion, a mind of a champion. And so, we don't play too many games like that. Maybe we will, but he's ready.
Andre, a Danish update, please. So someone that I saw joined your ranks this season, Guillaume Briant. How's he settling in? How are you finding getting to know him, and how do you think his prospects are for the next couple of months?
So Guillaume Briand, he works with one of the coaches that work under the brand NoShortcuts, which is Jakub Smejkal. They've been working together since February, so it's still pretty recent. But based on conversations with Jakub, he seems like he's in good shape, and he had a great open performance. So we're looking forward to see what he can do now in the semifinals. I think we or in the quarterfinals, we know that there will be certain events that are not down his alley, but so I guess we'll see what the events will bring him.
When someone new comes in like that, but who has a history of, he's been to the games, he's had some great seasons and some seasons that didn't pan out the way he would have wanted them to. Is there a pressure to hit the ground running there when it's, say, he joins in February, and you obviously don't want to? He probably has certain expectations of himself, but then if you're only working with him for quite a short amount of time, it's hard to kind of ramp up as quickly as you might want to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's always pressure when you work with athletes, regardless of their level, but especially at the higher level, because, they have high expectations and they want to do big things, and they're sacrificing everything to make it there. So if they entrust you and taking them to where they want to go, it's a lot of pressure, but we love pressure. So it's a good thing. And I think, I trust Jakub's ability to help him. And I know that on Guillaume's side, he's super dedicated, and we have had him over for a camp and, getting to know him a bit better. And I've also competed against him. So it's, I think things are shaping up good for him. There's just a few final pieces that needs to be put together and a few holes that needs to be covered. And then I don't see what will go wrong in the qualifying process.
Jelle then, absolutely stellar debut season last year at the games. He had his rookie bow. He, did himself and NoShortcuts incredibly proud. It was a great performance. And then again at Rogue. It's interesting, there's been a lot of talk about the narrowing of the field and how the number is cut down, and people have been looking at, well, who would have missed out last year had the numbers been shorter. And his name has cropped up a few times of, like, what a loss to the season that would have been had there been less people in Europe last year going to semi-finals. He would have missed out potentially. Obviously, these are all hypotheticals, but does that add an element of pressure to maybe increase the output for quarterfinals than historically has been needed in other years when there's been more spots available?
For sure. I mean, 100%. That brings a lot of pressure, but like I said, we've been working really hard since last year, and he's improved a lot on some of his weaknesses, which were the only things that, put him in a outside top 40 spot last year. So we're really looking forward to seeing how he's gonna respond in some of those tests that expose some weaknesses in the past. And, for sure, we haven't reached the level yet of where those are absolute strengths, but they've improved massively. So we're looking forward to seeing how he will do in those tests, and hopefully he will not be close to the cut line. But yeah, I mean, when you finish, I think 44th last year, it just brings pressure, and, every stage is different tests. So that's the challenge of this sport. And so you need to make sure that even if you have an athlete that is, top 10 games caliber, you need to make sure they get there in the first place. And that requires sometimes a bit different type of training. And so I think we've been focusing a lot on that, and we hope that it's gonna, bear its fruits.
With someone like him who has a huge debut season or a huge rookie season, is there an element of managing expectations of the second season? That kind of difficult second album syndrome, where, like, to reach the performance that he did last season again will be incredible, like consistency for any athlete. And then, last year he maybe had the ability to surprise a few people because not many people knew who he was or what his strengths were and that kind of thing. So he could kind of come out of left field for some people. Is there an element as a coach of kind of dampening expectations, or do you try and build confidence as much as you can?
I think you just remove all focus from expectations and from, all those things that you can't control. And I know it sounds like super cliche, but we just keep repeating that every single time there's an opportunity to just put focus on the controllables, attitude, effort, preparation, and, you know, all the things outside of training. And I don't know anybody better than Jelle and the other athletes that I get to work with, because they are just super dedicated with everything possible. So I think regardless of the outcome of the season, you know, they're going to look back and they have known that they have done what it takes. And, you know, then it's just on me to make sure the program gets better and it gets more specific. So, you know, I think the pressure is not so much on them. They've done their end of they've done their part. I mean, it just comes down to what the events are and how well I've prepared them. And it will just be, I mean, regardless of what happens, it's kind of just back to the drawing board. If they succeed and surpass their results from last year, it's great. We get back to work and we try to get better. And if they perform worse than they did last year, we get back to work and try to perform better. So I feel like that kind of removes some pressure because the result afterwards is the same.
Yeah. On the female side, then you've gained an athlete in Turi Helgadottir who's very experienced, very well known. She's been around the game scene for a number of years now. She's also had a couple of different coaches over the last few years. How is she settling into NoShortcuts and working with you guys?
I mean, really enjoy working with her. She's a fantastic person. She's been over here for a few training camps and she will be landing here in a few days together with the other athletes. Or, I mean, if this comes out on Monday or Tuesday, she will be here already. And they will be doing the quarterfinals here. I mean, I feel like with her, it also comes with a lot of pressure to work with her because she's done some amazing stuff. And it feels like you can only basically ruin it. You know, she's one of the best of all time, kind of with 9 times to the CrossFit Games, 7 times individual and 2 times team. It's a big challenge, but I think, you know, she's had some obstacles in this off season that we've been trying to work on, and we're excited to see what's going to happen this season with her.
Injury free and feeling good, yeah.
Injury free, yeah, and feeling pretty good. Like I said, there've been some obstacles and private stuff, and that's definitely caused some less smooth road, let's say, and so that just comes with, I think, dampened expectations. But you know, like with her experience and sorry, my dog. Yeah, we're just gonna have to see. We'll see with her. I'm not too sure what to expect on that side. Like I said, there's been some stuff going on, and so we're cross fingers that despite that she's ready to rock this season.
Very good. Another name that's kind of, quite well known around the European scene, especially. You can probably pronounce her name better than I can, but Marie Raban has. She's gearing up hopefully for semi-finals as well. You got some other names there too. Is there anyone that you think we should be keeping an eye out for beyond quarterfinals? Anyone that you think people should be aware of?
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, on the men's side, we have Jelle hosted Guillaume Brion, and then we have a guy you should look out for, Tommaso Pieri. I started working with him in September last year. So it's also, I mean, not new, but it's, you know, 7-8 months in or something like that. And he's looking really promising, and, you know, he's a great guy and works really hard and is really dedicated. So we're going to do everything we can to make him have a super successful season. On the women's side, like we've talked about, Manon and Thuri, and then we have Marie, who works with Jakub, and then we have Franzi Höger from Germany, who qualified last year as well, and Jana Gertz, who qualified a few years back. And then we have a few Danish bubble athletes that I'm curious to see what going to do this season. But that's about it. So it's about like I think 8 people that have a legitimate chance of making it, and that we perhaps have some expectations of making it. And then there's a few more in that mix.
You mentioned Manon there, and I forgot to bring her up. How is she after? So she's kind of in a similar position to Jelle, where she made it and had a great season by her own standards, and now I guess it's replicating that or improving upon that. Is it similar managing the two of them? Like, have they, you know, do you feel that they both have similar expectations of themselves and similar levels of weaknesses that they need to shore up, sort of thing?
I would say Manon's most like, I think she's the most well-rounded athlete that I work with. I don't see anything that could really shock her at the quarterfinals. She's pretty leveled amongst everything. The things she weren't really good at, she responded really well to and has been working on very nicely and has improved massively on those. So she adapts really easily to training, and she's really dialed in and really focused. I mean, they're all very dialed in and very focused. But just speaking for her, so she didn't have the games that she wanted last year, and I think we both knew that she had capacity to be top 10 at the games,
Mm.
but didn't realize that, because of sports and because of lots of different things, and managing maybe to having too high expectations because she knew what she was capable of, and when things didn't work out the way that we had hoped or she had hoped, then I think that was just something difficult to deal with. So I feel like the season we're more we have more experience in the bank with her in terms of managing expectations, and just constantly, like I said, put focus on trying your best, and not on the outcome. And regardless if you're a beginner or top CrossFit Games athlete, I feel like that is just always the thing that you should be focusing on. So nothing really changes regardless to the level.
Differs by degree, not kind. Isn't that it?
Mm-hmm.